Good evening, welcome. It is All for United. It is Sunday night. It is the end of the Premier League. You've probably just about had enough of watching the blue half of Manchester claim they've done something magnificent. Seeing the red half of Merseyside saying a tearful goodbye, not seen since Her Majesty the Queen, God bless her, left this mortal coil. But fear ye not, for we are here to fill in the Manchester United-sized hole inside your heart right now. It might be season over. We've still got a little bit more to go, a little bit more, unlike some. So we are going to enjoy it. Exactly right, Dave. We are on the march. We're Ten Hag's army, and a lot of people are indeed going to Wembley. And what a little team we have assembled for ourselves this evening. Just below us, this is the one, the only MUFC Beanie 7, also known as Andy. How you doing, sir? You all right?
All good, all good. Glad that season's over, but hopefully we can get something in the FA Cup. I'm all good, man.
I feel that might be a common thread as we move through this evening, but we shall see where it all ends up. Speaking of Andy's, we've got another one just over here. To be fair, he's had two absolutely banging introductions, so I think we're just going to make do with is Andrew. He's just another brick in the wall. How you doing, sir? You all right?
I'm all good, and say the end is finally here. The league season's over. Just one more game to go, and then they say we're done for the summer.
Absolutely, indeed. And just next to us, it's my right-hand man on my left-hand side, the one, the only, and when I say the one and the only, I mean out of the two of us, the one with hair. Dan, how you doing? You all right, sir?
Yeah, I'm sort of glad the season's over. Just a bit disappointed with how it's gone. So hopefully a bit more celebration next week. But yeah, very disappointing season, unfortunately.
Indeed, just say my hellos to everyone there. We've got NT, Dave obviously is here, JJ's popped in, Simon's back in there as well. Lovely to see you all. And as Dave says, 6 points from my possible zeros. We've done well. We did indeed finish the season strongly, which was good. JJ saying a bit of a sketchy first half. Second half, very encouraging. And as Simon says, it was a dead rubber. Regardless of the result, we were going to have our worst ever finish. And we were, but I kind of want to throw out, before we get into the match, just the general dynamics of it, because obviously there was a lot going on. There was a lot of games to be watched. Man City were obviously, didn't take them long to put West Ham to the sword, really. There was a brief moment at 2-1 where the world wondered if maybe, just maybe, West Ham could pull off a miracle. But that was soon removed from our minds. Of course, we're also seeing Liverpool and Wolves over on another channel. But meanwhile, and somehow Chelsea ended up on Sky Sports. I don't understand where the enjoyment factor from having Chelsea on was. Again, that's not being anti-Chelsea. It's just they already knew they had Europe. I would have thought the only thing that had any jeopardy whatsoever was Manchester United and Newcastle. And Newcastle did their bit. They got to 3-0 and then it went to 3-2. Obviously, we'd just about managed to get in the lead. Was there a point or any point during today, and this is the first question for you all, we can just go around, we'll go Andy, and Dan, and you two Andys can have a fight decide which Andy's going first. But was there any point during today's proceedings where you got even marginally excited into thinking that Newcastle might end up just getting a point at Brentford and that we might just sneak into those European positions today? Andy?
I think my hope went as soon as I started watching that first half, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, we are where we are because the season's been how it's been, hasn't it? So I know we had a slight glimmer, but as one of the comments said, at least we've took 2 wins out of these last 2 games. But I never really thought Newcastle would slip up, to be honest. I had a feeling we'd win today, but I never really thought Newcastle would slip up.
Because I was listening to the United game on the radio and they was mentioning the other scores going around the grounds, and I think Brentford did score early, but then it was ruled out, and I was like, I'd say there was a slim chance of jumping over Newcastle, but we needed Brentford to help us out if that was to happen. But they did make a late push at the end, and Newcastle got the job in the done in the end with their 4-2 win. But yeah, realistically, it was out of our hands, and I say it's another season in the books for us. It's been the worst season in 31 years of Premier League football for us, but there was, there's a slim chance of salvaging something out of the season next Saturday in the FA Cup, but we'll have to do it against the Man City side, and it's a one-off game. Anything can happen, so we can still have a chance of qualifying for Europe, but it's just gotta. Hopefully, we do get some sort of European football. Otherwise, maybe in the end, less games next season will help the squad. Who knows? But I'm hoping we do win the FA Cup next weekend. But yeah, to be fair to Newcastle, they got the job done, and we finished 8th in the league, and said the league season it's a marathon, not a sprint, and the table never lies at the end of it.
Yeah, I agree with both, to be fair. The frustration for me wasn't the Newcastle result today, to be honest. If you take a quick look at the table, it's the complete tank against Chelsea. So that would be a 6-point swing. So we would have actually finished, I think it's 6th, if we wouldn't have bottled that game. So it's the frustration all around. I did get excited a little bit, to be honest. When it was 3-2, I was a bit like, could they nick another one, make it 3-3, and we get that 7th spot? And then Brentford went and gave away a penalty that was turned into a free kick. And then, I don't know if you've seen it, but the defending from the free kick itself is absolutely shocking. It's crossed into the box. The keeper decides to just chuck it back out to Guimaraes, who's unmarked, and just taps home. So, yeah, the worst Premier League season for 31 years is hard to comprehend. I don't know how to process it myself. Now I've seen it on paper and now it's all finished. Has it been the best of seasons? No. You're talking changing 1 or 2 results and it wouldn't have been as bad as it is. And it's a weird one because if we can somehow beat Man City, which will take a massive effort, we're still going to finish the season having a better season than 99% of the league. Arsenal have no trophies, we'll have 1. Liverpool will have a League Cup, we'll have an FA Cup. Chelsea have won nothing, we'll still be in the Europa League. So it's salvageable. I'm just interested to know what happens with Ten Hag. If we get embarrassed in the FA Cup, then I think he's in big trouble. If we win the FA Cup, I don't know what they're going to do, to be honest. I just hope we don't see another Van Gaal where we've got an FA Cup winner and then a manager sacked. And then the only thing I would say, I've seen a lot of people say like, oh, it's the worst finish in 31 years. He should be sacked, blah, 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 blah. That's not a reason to sack him. It's more of a reason to apologise to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for trying to say that he should have won the league with the team that he had. We really should give him the chance if he can be given everything he needs by Ineos, then we need. There's nobody better. Can't see anybody better that's going to come in. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. But everything points to next week for me. Make or break.
Make or break, indeed. You're not kidding. So let's have a look because I've been starring some of your. Excuse me. I've been starring some of your comments that as we've been going down. I've been throwing a few up there, but there's a few that we want to point out. So Simon's been saying I predicted all season that City would get the title. So well done, you. And speaking of them, West Ham's goal was quality, says Simon. It was a very good overhead kick from Kudus. United near a clear out, dudes. It's evident. Sorry, just being honest. Do you know, Simon, you've been in and out of our chat time and time again this season. It's been a pleasure having you there. So may I say, without any shade whatsoever, congratulations. And that's as nice as I'm going to be for the rest of this evening. So there we go. That's the decency out of the way. Right there. Boxy Boy has gone. We've got less points under Ranić, so that's a positive. But I was really intrigued about what Box has been putting out here about the 60 points being fairly high for 8th place. In 32 years of the Premier League, only 3 times has a team has amassed more than 60 points in 8th place, which, you lose sight of these sort of things, actually. You look at 8th and you just go, well, it's not the greatest of finishes. But when you look at it like that, the fact that 60 points would usually get you higher up in the league, does that change anything for you guys, having looked at that? We're all looking at it as a poor season, but in the grand total, the complete totality of Premier Leagues, it's not actually the world's worst point haul that we could have had. Would you agree with that, Andy, or do you still think it's been a steaming pile of manure?
Which one, me?
We're going to kick off unless I call him Wall or Bricky or something like that over there.
For me, it's been the performances this season for me. I mean, 60 points is decent, but it's 8th. It's been poor from the Wolves game, really, from the very start of the season. Yeah, and that's just what's done me this season. I know 60 points isn't too bad, and like Dan says, we could get a FA Cup. I don't really buy into this thing of we then have a better season than Arsenal, because I think you have to delve slightly deeper into what we've actually done this season and what Arsenal have done this season. Chelsea, for me, the massive sort of elephant in the room. How the hell have they finished 6th? I mean, that's mental. They were like 13th for about 6 months, it felt like. And now they've steamed on. But yeah, for me, it's been the performance levels for me that have just been terrible. Just game after game after game. For me, it's heads need to roll, but maybe not Ten Hag's. I mean, that's for another discussion.
You're not wrong. Watching Chelsea gallop past us has been like watching the Grand National as you're cheering home your person who's sitting there in 3rd and they just come out from nowhere. Unbelievable. But Andrew Wall, for you, does that give you a little bit of solace, I suppose, the fact that 60 points historically would have meant a higher finish?
That's something I said to you backstage. I was like, looking before we came on, I thought the league season, I've kind of made peace with it now, because look, there's many things we can point to throughout the season, performances, results that should have gone our way, or like that game which I was at, Chelsea way. How the hell we lost that, I don't know. If we'd have won that, would we have got the form going into towards the end of the season, and we would have finished higher as well? So it's swings and roundabouts. Yeah, in other seasons, I think one season where we finished and we finished 4th with it, if I remember rightly. But yeah, it was just the season's not gone the way we wanted. Yeah, we can 10 hour point to injuries, but that's one of the issues we've had. But it's there's been a lot of other issues that have been arising at United over the course of the season as well. So it's going to be a busy summer, and hopefully next week, we do get the win in the FA Cup, because from what I heard earlier, if we win the FA Cup, we get Europa League. That knocks Chelsea into the Conference League. So there's a bit of an added bonus to it. So it's like Chelsea have done all that hard work, and we could come in and smash it away from them. So, so I've seen some bad performances at Old Trafford this season. It's just but I'll still keep going back, and I'll be thinking, after next week, I'll roll on the next season and still be there, cheering on. I'm just got to applaud those that went down to Brighton today. They were singing their hearts out, and all the support across the season as well. Just as we say, we'll follow the boys, everywhere, and we say no matter what happens, when we win, lose or draw, we'll still be there. We'll still be, backing United.
Absolutely. And I mean, again, Buck saying here, I look back at games like 1-1 v Burnley, 1-1 v Brentford, etc. as definitive games. But Dan, when you look at these 60 points and you consider the fact that we probably haven't put out our first choice back for once this season, and there has been those issues with injuries, has Erik ten Hag actually performed a little bit of a miracle this season in getting that level of points, now that we look at that in the totality of the Premier League? Or am I trying to be too kind to a fellow Baldy?
I think you're being too kind, Barry. Ultimately, for me, I give up on the season. I know it was a little bit earlier and a bit more pessimistic, but I gave up in December. And I've said a lot of times through the season that we should be doing what Chelsea were doing, which is is rotating some youth players, giving them the chance, stop playing players that won't be here next season, play players that have got a future at this football club. He's chosen not to do that. He's gone with his starting 11. We've still finished below Chelsea. We've got a chance of winning the FA Cup, which is good. I do feel sorry for him. I've seen lots of different coverage of Man United games this season, and there seems to be a lot of sympathy for I don't know, or Chelsea are missing Palmer. It must be really, really hard. We've been missing a back four all season, and we don't get off the sympathy of what other teams get. So I do feel sorry for him. What I don't like, and I'll maintain this because I don't think it creates a good squad harmony, is seeing Ten Hag constantly say through the season that the replacements basically aren't good enough. He's done it again today. He's come out and he said, it's good to have these players back on the pitch. You can only be consistent or perform well if you've got a strong back four. And if I'm a squad player at Man United or even a youth player, I'm sat there thinking, this guy don't fancy me. He don't trust me. I thought it was a mistake today to play Casemiro at centre-back. I don't understand why Kambwala couldn't have played centre-back today with Casemiro playing in front. I would be, again, asking questions about that if I was a player in the dressing room. I'm just quite disappointed. I get what we're saying about 60 points and it and everything else, but I think the Premier League lower down has not been very competitive this season. The three that's come up have gone straight back down. Sheffield United have got, 16 points? It's a really low tally. It's not been fantastic watch. I would be a lot more forgiving if he had put like Amas in against Brentford or against Burnley or Sheffield United and we didn't pick up points, because at least he's given some experience to players that have got a future at the football club. But to continually pick Christian Eriksen, I'm baffled at why. I know he ended up with an assist today, so it's a bad player to pick on. But I don't know why we've not just give a youth player a chance like Gore and kept him around the squad instead, because he's got a future at the club and Eriksen hasn't. So I'm just a little disappointed with that. I think we should have maybe seen that the season was gone a bit earlier than it has. I know we've took it to the last game anyway, but sort of fruitless. And now we've spent 3 months playing players that definitely won't be here next season. One thing I want to add actually quickly is when Varane came on today, we look instantly better. And I'm very much sat here wondering if we can't find a deal to keep him. Because as soon as he came on the pitch, we looked so steady. We like in terms of just play everything. So I would now be maybe contemplating if we could get him on a pay-to-play deal, maybe. Decent money if he plays, but if he's injured, he don't get paid much, but just something. So yeah, I'm disappointed with the Premier League season in totality, to be honest. I don't think we've used it well enough.
Interesting. Fair point, I suppose. Not sure I agree with all of them, but there we are. NT saying you wouldn't say that if he had a quiff like Connor's Barry. You're absolutely right. I wouldn't hate people here just showing it off and
I can try it once.
Flashes of a morning. It's outrageous. No need for it. Have hair as much as you like. Just, don't shove it out under my nose. There's no need for it. What have we got? So Simon's had a fair few. He's flying through the comments today. He's on Arsenal bottle it yet again. Their time will come if City can stop winning trophies. I don't know. That feels a little bit harsh. Just in a word, would we say Arsenal bottled it? Beanie?
Nah, not for me. When you see the progression that they've had, I think what have they won, like 27 games or something this season? Like a stupid amount of games. City are just a machine. For me, Arsenal are a good side.
Britwell?
As I say, with Arsenal, you can see the progression they've made in the last, 3 or 4 years, and just like last season with them, I was expecting this season they'd do the same, get so far and then tail off. No, they kept it right up until the end. I thought, the title race would go down between City and Liverpool, and it was Liverpool that fell away in the end. So, fair play to Arsenal. They hung in there until the last day. It wasn't in their hands. And did anybody expect City not to win against West Ham? As soon as I heard they're ahead, I was like, there's the title going to them. So I was like, well, we'll see how long they're celebrating that title. Well, in the many months ahead when they finally stand trial for their charges, and see what the outcome of all that, comes out of that. But yeah, it's just, Arsenal, it'll be interesting to see how they kick on next season. So we've got a lot of catching up to do. Those above us. So we'll see.
Dan, for you, what do you think about Arsenal? Did they bottle it? Do you think, or
no? I don't think they've bottled it. If I'm not wrong, I'm sure they're 5 points better off than last season, which means that they would have finished on the points that City won the Premier League last season, and City are 2 points better off. So City have just improved. They're an absolute machine. But I'll be quick. I tweeted it earlier. Every team for the last decade feels the same way about City, and it's pure frustration. I genuinely think this summer is massive for the Premier League. If City are found guilty of the charges and the punishment isn't significant, then personally it could be the end of watching Premier League football for a lot of people. So it's going to be a really interesting summer, and I don't understand how the Premier League have let this happen. So they've won 4 titles back to back, whilst being under investigation for 2 of the seasons and being charged for 2 of the seasons, and they've still no punishment. So it needs sorting at ASAP. And I would see Arsenal fans' frustration, because they could very well have won the title if it wasn't for the 115, same as us, same as Chelsea, same as Liverpool. So yeah, it's got to be sorted this summer.
There we go. I think bottle gets thrown around so much, even when it's a good team or player. If you don't win, it's bottling it. It's silly, really. I think I tend to agree with that as well. Ten Hag reckons we're in a better place than last year, apparently. I can't say I read that. But if he does, then I think he's probably trying to be bullish. I think would be what I would go with there. What else is Simon saying? He said, to be honest, how can you stop City from retaining the FA Cup? That feels like a midweek question, whereby we will be doing our special FA Cup preview. We're going to see what we can do. We're pretty sure we're going to get one special guest on, who we've been waiting to get on this channel in this calendar year. If we can get a second one in as well, that would be even better. We are seeing what we can do with that, but I think we will mainly cover the FA Cup on that Wednesday. Otherwise, what's the point in tuning in? So there we go. Foden has been the main goal threat of City this season, so we can't expect City to have an off match, he says, though. Well, yeah, probably not. This is the question I want to talk to you guys about next. It's the goal differences, the disappointment. When you look at it, we have finished 8th, but we've finished with the same number of points as the team that finished 7th. The difference is, quite literally, 23 goals. To finish 8th with the goal difference of -1, how can we look back at this season and explain it? Because we've had some great goal scoring feats from the likes of Rasmus Højlund. He's done incredibly well this season. 16th goal scored today, and a really good solo effort as well. Again, making his own chances there. But like -1, I don't know. I doubt that we have ever finished in the Premier League season with a negative goal difference, and I reckon you're probably going back to the 80s or 70s since we last had a negative goal difference. Let's go the other way around this time. Dan, for you, that goal difference, I mean, it's unacceptable, really, isn't it, for a team like Manchester United to concede more goals than they've scored, when you consider that our entire DNA is based on scoring more goals than the opposition.
It's even worse when I've just had a quick look at the table, because I mentioned this the other week. We've got the 4th best defence in the league with 58 conceded, joint with Crystal Palace. So even though defence has been a massive issue for us this season, it's constantly been rotated and it's hard to get a base, etc. I think a lot of it comes from the fact that we've got an inexperienced front line and we're relying on Garnacho, Ahmad now, players like Anthony that aren't good enough. Rashford's not had his best season. So as bad as it looks, I don't think in reality it's that bad. If we can get some players back on the pitch and maybe sign a striker that's a bit more... I mean, I've read somewhere that Bayern Munich want Fernandes. 50 million on Harry Kane, we'll talk. Do you know what I mean? But I don't think we're that far away in terms of a couple of proper professionals through the door that buy into Ineos and what they're trying to do. And if we can get some goals flowing next season, I genuinely don't think we're in as bad a place as it looks. It's just disappointing.
I see a lot of people saying that. Mark Henry, I'm sure, said it the other day as well. You know, if we had to let go of Fernandes, then we could. But
I wouldn't.
I don't hear it all the time. This idea that
50 million and Harry Kane.
Yeah, that's nice getting Harry Kane, but who's going to give him the chuffing ball?
Well, we'll go and get that Wirtz from Leverkusen. He's quite good.
Wirtz?
He's not coming to us though. He's playing Champions League football. No, I do see your point, but what I'm saying is we're just a couple of players away, a bit more experience, but not the experience we've been signing of 33, but experience that's 27 going into the best years, not after the best years.
This is quite something. Father Christmas handed Celtic their title, no joke.
That's true.
You're gonna have to. What do you mean? It's true.
That is true.
How could Father Christmas do anything? It's bloody May.
Because at Christmas they brought Father Christmas out and he got booed at Celtic Park. So, and then they brought him back out for the to bring the title on.
He's meant to be in hibernation with the elves
So
and everything sorted ready for this Christmas.
So if you go online, you'll see that. Yeah, Father Christmas comes out.
It's absolutely outrageous.
At the title.
Father Christmas has got jobs to do. The people at Lapland are not going to be happy finding out that he's off gallivanting, getting all expenses paid trips to Celtic.
The elves do all the work.
Yeah, but he's got to make sure they're behaving. I bet they had a party while he was gone. Mrs. Claus, God knows what she was doing.
Typical management, Larry, off swanning around, doing what they want while everybody else does the
Not
work.
acceptable. You don't catch me doing it every time there's a fun party or something like that to get to. I'm here. Not really. I was at Wembley. Sorry. Andrew Wall. I forgot what the question was. Goal difference. Crap, wasn't it? Talk to us about it.
Yeah, it's not to finish with -1. I mean, so it's the only sixth time in the history of the Premier League United finished the campaign with a goal difference of below +25. So it's like I think it's the worst the club's 5 worst Premier League seasons ever based on goal difference have come in the last decade. So it's not like this is a one-off. It's been there for for all there on show as well. And it's making me think of a phrase that Fergie once said, attack wins you games and defense wins you titles. Well, we haven't got much. Well, this season we didn't have much of a defense because there's been that many different back four this season. We just couldn't get that consistency as well. I'm just thinking that's what we need to get back like last season, even though I think we was winning games like 1-0 because we just had consistency at the back as well. So it's frustrating as much as watching them at Old Trafford and you just think we have the ability to score, but in the next minute we could easily go and concede about 2 or 3 and I'm just like and just get ripped apart and I'm just like just no defenders not switched on, like even like the other night against Newcastle was like I think was it 2 minutes into the second half you just like were they exactly switched on? Probably not, and then we concede and it's just like you just for the whole 90 minutes in the game you can't switch off because you'll get punished for it. But yeah, -1 is not great, but we just think, well, hopefully it all just gets better, next season because if it doesn't start well next season, then we are in a lot of trouble.
You're not kidding. Beanie, we're talking here about Ranić. He's been up in the comments there with his 0 goal difference, but a negative goal difference. It's just, where's it gone wrong? I mean, Dan's saying that's the 4th best defence in the league, but attack-wise, it's just not quite been enough. We know that Rashford's been off the boil in terms of compared to last season. Obviously, Martial's been non-existent. Anthony hasn't scored very many at all. And yet we're still given a lot of time to get on there. We've had people like Amari Forson come and join us who, have been given time but haven't really found the net. Where's the issue there? And is it fixable for next season?
Yeah, I definitely think it's fixable. I think there's, as you say, there's so many players this season that have been out of form. Rashford's had an absolute mare of a season, hasn't he? You've got Garnacho, decision making. We can get into that again. You've got Anthony, decision making, very poor. How we have the 4th best defense in the league, I have no idea. I mean, I don't know if you could tell me if we beat a team more than 3-0 this season, which is very un-United. Like we've not really put any teams to the sword, which is a bit odd for United. And we've taken a lot of tankings as well. We've taken a few 3s, a few 4s, have we? Yeah, I think it's, as Andy says, I think we're very lacklustre defensively. I think going forward, I think we've just had a poor season going forward, to be honest. And I think you mix both of them together, the goal difference ain't going to be good. But I think it's very, as Dan says, I mean, I know he sort of jokes about Kane, but I think if you get someone prolific up front, I think it will fix itself.
To be fair, as far as Harry Kane's concerned, he could win as much as he's won in his entire career by coming to United, so he's not got a lot to lose. And some might argue that that's a better project, trying to come here and give us our glories back, as opposed to trying to do it at places where they perennially win it anyway, and then go in there and watching them lose it to Leverkusen. There you go. That's just me thinking out loud. If you haven't already, please do like and subscribe to the channel. It's halfway through the show and I haven't asked you yet. I've thrown it up on there though, so if you haven't already, please do so. It is much appreciated. Well, I mean, it's meant to be a match review. There's not a huge amount to review in the match because, let's be honest, all of the conversation points are based on what happened around it and the things that have happened today. But I would like to talk a little bit about our team today, specifically our goal scorers. Højlund managed to get a goal again, as we said, 16. I think that's in 42 for him now. And I was talking a lot about Rooney scoring 17 in 43 in his first season. So that's quite a thing. If he can get one against City, he'll have levelled Wayne Rooney's first season, which I don't think a lot of people would have said he's going to have a similar sort of season as Wayne Rooney did. Granted, Rooney was a little bit younger, but still, it's quite a thing. And of course, Diogo Dalot managing to get on the score sheet again as well. Beanie, Diogo Dalot is a sort of a maligned human being, I feel, really, insofar as I'm not convinced that the majority of the fan base rated him at the beginning of this season above Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I think people have always said Dalot was better going forward and Wan-Bissaka was better in the defensive moments. Obviously, this season, they both had to play, not always necessarily on the side that they would prefer to have been at. Talk to me a little bit about Diogo Dalot and the season that he's had, considering the amount of defensive inconsistency we have had. Mm-hmm. And because you weren't on the show the other day, do we think that Højlund in 10, 15 years' time could be anywhere near the number of goals that Wayne Rooney managed to score for Manchester United?
Well, on Dalot first, I mean, as you say, last season, the bad side of his game was his defending, wasn't it? But you can clearly see that he's improved that and he's worked hard on it. He was always decent going forward. He always had a good shot on him. He always looked more threatening going forward, and you'd think that attackers would have a go at him going back. But for me, he's been probably our most consistent player this season. Definitely our most consistent defender. Played on the left, does equally as well on the left as he does on the right. For me, Wan-Bissaka is the one that goes. If any of them go, if we sell a right back and we look to improve that position, it's Wan-Bissaka that leaves. Yeah, I think I said it on the show before. Dalot is player of the season for me, just for the consistency. Yeah, I don't think he's had many bad games. Yeah, but for Højlund, kind of going on the last question, I think if players around Højlund are better, decision making, putting it to him a bit more, I think he can score a lot of goals. I mean, you say Rooney scored 17 in, you say 40 odd or whatever. The team he was playing in was a very good team. It was a very good team, and we were creating lots. We were tatering teams on a regular basis. Højlund is feeding on scraps at the minute. So I think if you fix the wingers, you fix the supply. Yeah, I think Højlund can be a very good player for us over the next decade. I think if he's coached well, So I think that is a massive thing of it. I think it is the coaching of the wingers, of Højlund himself, to bring the play, to bring himself into the play a bit more and to make things happen a bit more. But I think it is a coaching thing. But I think he can be a very big player for us. He needs help though up top massively, whether that is an older person to learn off, but he needs help.
Well, I think he certainly brought himself into the game today without a shadow of a doubt. He managed to do that. Andrew, I think I asked you already about Højlund with regards to Rooney in one of our previous shows, so you don't have to go down that road. But talk to me a bit more about Dalot. You've seen him live and in Technicolor on a regular basis. Has he gone up in your estimations this season?
Yeah, he definitely has, and I think he has had a good season. And I'm just thinking it's going to be interesting, player of the season at United, who he's going to go to, because would it be Bruno or it can be Dalot as well? So they've both shone bright this season, both of them pair. But I mean, even today, Dalot just capped off, his season with a class display. It was him that got the goal that sent us on our way to the win, and he deserves all the plaudits. Out of today, say defensively, he was very disciplined, and he was kind of rarely troubled during the game, which was a good thing. So, and you can see the effort he's put across the season has been recognised by his teammates, and even pundits are now saying, Dalot has had a good, despite United season overall's not been that great. Dalot can think personally he's done really well as well. So, as I say, for me, I would play the season. It'll be either him or Bruno that gets it. But yeah, I mean, heading into the season, when I was heading into this season, it was up for debate who's going to lock down that right back position, and he got there ahead of Aaron Wan-Bissaka as well. So, do I see Dalot cementing it even more for next season? Yes. Does that mean does Aaron Wan-Bissaka settle for a place on the bench, or does he move on? So at the moment, when you're putting that lineup out, Dalot is one of the first names on the team sheet, and so I think he's going to be potentially very vital for us in the next few seasons as well, especially being led under Sir Jim and his team as well. So got to take my hat off to Dalot. He's had a good season despite how it's all ended in, where we finished. But say well done to him.
Yeah, and Dan, I know we asked you the same thing about Højlund, but for you, for Dalot, people here calling for him to be player of the season, as we've said. I will point out as well that Simon's also asking who he thinks has been the worst player this season. You're very good, Simon. You are coming up with all of the shows that we are going to be doing, but we need stuff to fill during the close season. So we do have end of season Manchester United awards, and although I am a beacon of positivity where I can be, and we do try and have that, I'm sure we will have a flop of the season or a worst signing of the season or something like that within there as well, because at the end of the day it's a debate show, and it would be interesting to see what people think. So again, just keep coming back, I think, is what we're trying to get at here. We're not clickbait, but we do have certain days for certain discussions, because otherwise we'd be here all night, which would be fine for people like Andrew, but not for me, because I'm knackered. I'm getting old. That's why I moved to 8:30 rather than 10:30 at night. Can you believe people did that? Andrew was one of those. He used to do these shows at 10:30 at night. Absolutely mad. But Dan,
10 o'clock on Sundays, and still be going about past 11:30.
Do you know what I mean? Nobody needs that. Nobody needs that at all. Yes, Mr. Field, go on. Diogo Dalot.
I just wanted to quickly back up Andy's point about Højlund at first. He's had 19 shots and scored 9 goals since December. So he's not getting the chances that he should get, but he's still up there for big chances missed as well. But I was really happy to see him drop back, get on the ball. And do you know what really pleased me about his goal? Him ignoring a pass to one of the wingers and shooting instead, because they've done it to him all season, and they might take note now and go, you know what? I'll actually pass. And maybe going forward, it's going to be a good thing this season. But Dalot, for me, I'm going to say that he's been our most improved player this season, but I think Fernandes has been our best player this season. I think of all the defenders that have been fit this season, in fact, probably most of the players that have been fit this season, Dalot seems to understand what Ten Hag is asking of him more than most of the others. Maybe it might not be understanding, but he seems to be able to do it on the football pitch more than the others. And I think that's what's made him look so good. He's been told you need to do this, this, and this, and he's actually capable of doing it. So, yeah, I think he's been fantastic. I still maintain that Wan-Bissaka and Dalot as right backs will be good enough going forward as long as they haven't got to go and play left back. So if we can get left back sorted first, I think they actually complemented each other's last season. So when Dalot was in a bit of a poor patch, Wan-Bissaka played well. And when Wan-Bissaka dropped off, Dalot played well. So I do think they're enough. I'll rephrase it. I feel like there's more important positions first than right back. I think we've got enough there. So yeah, I've been really impressed with Dalot this season. He's doing what he's been asked to do.
Absolutely, and NT agreeing with you there. But I'll do the jokes around here, mate. What's this all about? Outrageous going for Malacia there. I fear a little bit of tomfoolery and jiggery pokery in that.
Could be magician of the year because he disappeared.
Couldn't
And he wasn't there Wednesday night when Martial was there, Varane was there. I was like, Malacia, where is he?
Indeed.
No one knows.
Nobody knows. Some more interesting points that have been thrown out through the comments. So Simon saying, now Klopp's gone, Slot will have one hell of a pair of boots to fill in or slot into, and we can see how he manages his team. We certainly will. With regards to Arsenal, he says, despite him getting second place, Arteta will be offered a new contract and get the chance to sign more if they're going to challenge City for the title next season. And Arteta could well be the blueprint, really, for showing why it is that having a bit of faith in your manager and not panicking immediately, especially when you consider we had a good season last season. I certainly think that next season is going to be pivotal for ETH. NT, you asked earlier on, did the FA chief not hand City the Premier League trophy? I think I heard someone say that. Maybe the FA are either embarrassed to do it or keeping their cards close to their chest. It is a fact from what I have seen. So maybe not a fact. I believe it's a fact that Richard Masters did decide he did not want to hand over the trophy at the Etihad today. Why that is, I don't know. Maybe he was having a haircut. Maybe he knew he needed to get back in order to watch tonight's show. Who knows as to what these reasons might be. There are a lot of people that are obviously reading a lot into that and giving it the old, well, maybe they're doing that because they know what's coming with City. But let's be honest, if they really knew what was coming with City, I kind of get the feeling they'd have done it by now and not allowed it to get to this point where they give them a trophy and then go, actually, can we just have that back? So I'm not convinced they've got the answers yet. There may well be a date for the hearing, but that's about as close as it gets. So who knows with regards to that one. And Simon also saying, he said this in the last show, after seeing Ten Hag's speech after the Newcastle game, it looked like we were watching a farewell speech. I don't feel like we need to go into massive detail onto Ten Hag's future today. But again, in a couple of words, did any of you see that as a farewell speech, or did you all just see that because I thought it was a carbon copy of the season before, really?
I thought he just looked nervous and he just wanted to get out of there, to be honest. But he didn't look like a manager that's saying bye to me.
The same for me. I was like, Shane said it to me afterwards. It sounded like word for word what he said last season because we mirrored it. Was going into the FA Cup final, but yeah, I'd say. Well, after next weekend, we'll be debating Ten Hag's future. So, and I'm saying, I still back the man. So, as I said yesterday, I was watching the women's team. I was like, I will die on that hill. Back in Ten Hag.
I've got distracted because we started talking about Ten Hag. What's the question?
Oh, don't worry about it, Dan, to be honest with you. I mean, it's only been up at the bottom there. Literally.
He's lost me because every time someone talks about back in Ten Hag, I just start flip-flopping in my head and get confused because I really want it to work out for him.
But it's not about whether you want him to stay. It's did you think his speech looked like a farewell speech?
No, I thought he looked like a man that was annoyed. Like, he's not happy with how the season's gone and he wants to get to the FA Cup final to sort of put it right. I didn't take it as a farewell speech. I just thought he was a bit, right, let's move on to the serious stuff. Season's been crap. We need to back. Well, we need to show the fans something, because the away fans have, in particular, have been absolutely amazing this season. Like, they were actually getting credit on Sky Sports as well, so that's how you know they've been really good.
Yeah. Do you know what? I saw something on social media where they put almost side by side Ten Hag's speech at the end of last season to the speech at the end of this season. And what I thought was really telling and really interesting was that last season he began by saying, I want to congratulate the players on a really good season. They played out their skins effectively and did really well. This season, of course, he just went straight to the fans. It was all about the fans. Thank you for your backing. You know, you never gave up. You kept on going with us. And he didn't once say well done to the players. And instead, he sort of gave them that call to arms, didn't he, of it's all about the cup final now, and we're going to do our best to deliver that for you. And again, it sort of comes down to what Simon said here. No European football, less games to worry about next season. Now, we're not going to get into that argument, because I still maintain that is balderdash, that anybody should be sitting there not wanting to see Manchester United in Europe. But what I will say is that the cup final obviously has a lot to do with that. The thing that I would find most sweet about that is that if we did somehow miraculously get past Manchester City, not only do Chelsea drop down into the Europa Conference League, but Newcastle, who've been cock-a-hoop over the fact that they've made it into Europe above us again, we just have to be, well, in this position with no European football, which could be quite entertaining. Again, briefly from you all, are we overall pleased that there's no European football as it stands for Manchester United? I mean, Andy, we'll kick off with you, because you go week in, week out. Is there a little part of you that feels not sad, because obviously we're sad that there isn't proper European football happening at Old Trafford, but is there part of you that thinks this would be good for us? Because I don't see a way in which not being in Europe is a positive selling point when you're trying to get brand new players into your football club.
Yeah, I'd rather see some Europe. I know we all want the Champions League, but seeing some European football would be good for us as well. But I'd say it didn't do Chelsea any harm. You know how they finished their season. So yeah, it's one of those. I'm just like, I'd rather see some European football, but as I say, we've got to do that for next week. So try and get it. But as I say, if we don't, it might benefit us in the long run.
For sure. Beanie, I'm not sure. We're not going to ask Dan this question, because we already had this argument once. I don't need to have it with him again. They can just go back to your previous show to find out how he feels about Europe, although he might have flip-flopped by this point. But Beanie, for you, is it all right that there's no European football at Old Trafford next season?
I think really a club of our size should be in Europe, shouldn't we? In whatever guise it is, but I think it is what it is, and then you have to use it to your advantage. And don't you? I mean, the fact we will have less games, we then have to make sure that is an advantage. That we have more time on the training field. Ten Hag has more time to implement his plans, because then you don't have an excuse then of too many games or whatnot. You have to make it a plus, because it is what it is, isn't it? We've put ourselves in this position, so we have to make the best of it.
We do. I think Dave's back on the vodka again here. We'll still be in the Europa League if we win the FA Cup, correct? Or Europa Conference if not. Now, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that is balderdash and fake news, as Mr. Trump used to say. That is fake news, everybody. I don't know. That was the worst American accent I've gone for. It ended up like it was in the deep south. I apologise for that. But yeah, it was... no, there's no Europa Conference if we don't. If we do not win next week, we are in trouble when it comes to Europe. NT's been looking for a flip-flop emoji, but this is the best one he could do. That's a heel of an emoji to have chosen. And Simon's saying again, it will be Thursday night football again, along with Spurs. Well, who gets it's Europe? Like, the one thing I've got to say about our fans, we do get very lofty. We remind me of that geezer who's on TikTok, you know, that one who's off doing all the etiquette all the time. He does that Help I've Sexted My Boss podcast. I can't remember what his name is, but he's always on TikTok going, hey, this is how you eat. Make sure your fork's in your left hand and your knife's in the right hand, and make sure we're not that posh. European football is European football. And actually, maybe there's an argument for being there on those Thursday nights just to get our heads straight and realise that we are not where we once were. NT saying he's flip-flopped too, especially on Europa Conference, still flip-flopping on it. Now, as we're talking about it, I get it, because we're not used to it. We're not used to being in somewhere. We've all laughed at the teams that were in it this year, calling it, you know, like the Diodora Conference League or whatever it might be. But it doesn't change the fact it's European football, and I would much rather be playing some form of European football than no European football. Have you changed your mind, Dan?
Yeah, do you know what? You have sort of convinced me a little bit that we should take Europe because European football is gold. But at the same time, I'm just going into next season. I'm thinking of a full reset for Ineos, for everything. And if the Europe's not there, there's no excuse for whoever's there to get these players on the training pitch, etc. But yeah, you honestly, you have convinced me a little bit that we should want to play in any European competition, even if it's to help the squad players have more game time. But yeah, I think you've convinced me there, to be honest, Barry.
Come on, I almost did a Jurgen Klopp there. I was doing the yes.
Plus, it puts if we was to go and win it, it puts a trophy in the trophy cabinet we've never won.
Absolutely does, and I'm a big fan of that. When we were in the Europa League before, and Mourinho won it, that's exactly what I said. You know, this is not something we've won before, and for that reason, you know, if we're going to be singing, we've seen it all, we've won the lot. Well, we need to actually win the lot in order for that to be true. So there we go. Changed our minds about it at least for the next 15 minutes. That'll do for me. We might be off by then. There we go. I had another starred message. This was about Wan-Bissaka. JJ saying, is Wan-Bissaka leaving rumours, or is there some truth to it? I mean, the God's honest truth is that we won't know until he actually decides to go. I suppose what I would do is, if I were looking at it from Wan-Bissaka's point of view, he's clearly been well used this season, probably more so than you would have imagined, but out of position. And if there's one thing that I do know about footballers, they're quite precious over their positions. They want to be used in positions that they think are the ones that they should be played in, not necessarily in the ones that the manager thinks they should be played in. You get your exceptions, like your Phil Neville will just go wherever it is you put him, and he's quite grateful to put the shirt on and do it. You'll get those players. I'm not convinced that Aaron Wan-Bissaka is one of those players. I think he feels comfortable at right back, and I think that's where he wants to be. So I think every time you shove him out to left back, you know, I think internally he's probably behaving like Anthony. Externally, he just does it because he knows it's what's for the good of the team. But if he knows he's not going to be the first choice right back at Manchester United, I would be surprised if he really wanted to stay. I think he would rather have first team football where he could be, you know, just like he was at Palace, a good right back, than to be, you know, let's be honest, a fool guy for what's going on at left back, just because we didn't properly look after our loans, Fernandez, for example, or Williams, or even Reguilon, and not letting him stay. So there we go. That would be a very boring season, wouldn't it, Twillum? But let's be honest. If everybody left, there'd be no football at all, and then there'd be nothing of that, and we'd get fined, and all sorts of things would happen. Unless, of course, you're saying we just play the kids, in which case we might get relegated. Stranger things have happened. So yeah, maybe think that through. Is Bruno staying with no Euro qualification? I don't think so. Yeah, of course he is. He's already said as long as the club wants him, he'll stay. And this is the thing. I think people do underestimate. I remember us talking earlier on in the season about players playing for the badge, wanting to play for the football club. And he hits that every single time. His exact words when he was interviewed the other day were, they've got to show that they want me. And if they want me, then I will stay. But if they don't want me and they say they don't want me, then I'll go. And it's as simple as that. So whether that's a cryptic way of him saying, you best give me a good contract or else I'm leaving, I don't know.
I think he's done what Rooney did. I think it's a way of saying we need to make the right moves off the pitch to make me happy on the pitch. I don't agree that he'll leave this summer, but I don't think he gives us more than one more year. If they don't get it right next season, Fernandes will go.
Well, absolutely. And we've answered this question 101 times, that there is nobody at the club at the moment who you would turn around and say is captain material beyond him at this moment in time. I don't think. The ones that you would look at, potentially a bit too young right about now. Mainu, I think, has got the potential to be a future United captain for sure. But I don't think we've got anybody else at the minute. And it's a two-way thing. You wouldn't play for the badge if we wanted to lower his wages. Well, why would you lower his wages when he's been the best performer?
And he did when he joined us, he came on absolute pittance in comparison to what a lot of players are on. I think he's only on about 80k. It's only because he blitzed it for 2 years that he got the bigger contract. So he's probably one of the worst players you could use that example for, to be honest.
There you go. It's a crazy one, really. So I don't know if this is going to work, but we do need to have a little look at something. Now, I say that I don't know if it's going to work because the last time I tried to make it work, it didn't quite do what I wanted it to do. But we shall see, boys and girls, if this is... No, we won't. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll come back to that one in a second. Let's have a little jump round on a slightly different question, which I wasn't intending to go to immediately. But can you rank the season so far? I say so far because obviously we've got the FA Cup final, but our league season out of 10. Whereabouts would you put it? Andy, and Dan. That'll be time to do what I'm doing.
Yeah, I'm going to have 4 out of 10. It might go to 5 if we win the FA Cup.
Yeah, I'd say the same. 3 or 4. Performances have been awful, so 3 or 4. Maybe go to a 6 if we win the FA Cup, but I'd still wouldn't be happy with that.
Premier League season 3 out of 10. I think it's been woeful, awful. 1 out of 10 for injuries. If we win the FA Cup, I'm happy. I'd say an 8. Beating Man City in an FA Cup final, still getting European football. Yep, take it all day long.
Okay. So we got a few here. 4.5 out of 10 for Simon. Our goal difference out of 10 for Twilumber. 4 for JJ, 2 for Dav. 4 based on what? I mean, like -1 based on what? I mean, we finished
goal
8.
Difference.
Madness. 2 out of 10 extra points. We didn't get relegated. 4 or 5 out of 10 if we win the FA Cup. Wow, you lot are brutal. Another 4 for Dave. Crikey. I'd have gone with a 6, but maybe I'm a bit too kind. I don't know. 2 for Box. Christ on a bike. Wish I hadn't asked now.
Positivity.
You know what I mean? It's just it being sucked out of the room. I feel now I understand what it's like to be like, beef. Just gone. Right. I got it now. It's all sorted. Never mind. Because right at the beginning of the season, Dan mugged me right off, to be honest with you, because he did 2 things. The first thing he asked me to do was to take part in a fantasy Premier League. He kind of forced me, I've got to be honest, because my exact words were, "Why are you making me doing this? I'm going to do it, and I will not touch it for the rest of the season. I will forget." I think the world understands how busy I am running this channel, helping out on WFC, working on women's football, working with Stevenage Women, and being a teacher. All of those things. We've all got jobs. We've all got things going on. I'm not trying to say I'm any worse off than anybody else, but this idea that I can also be a fantasy Premier League manager and put the level of effort into it that I see so many people do is beyond me. Like there's even YouTube channels and things dedicated to how you can craft your week. I don't have this level of time. I bought Football Manager and I don't get the time to go on that either. So it's no fun right now trying to do that. But Dan, I think can tell me, and this is the bit I'm most interested in, having not paid any attention to it for a whole year, did I finish bottom?
I'm going to just have a quick look. You didn't finish bottom.
Go on, Bazza. Who finished bottom? Expose them.
It was Andrew Wall.
Oh my God, I didn't know that. I feel
I feel
bad.
like you did.
I forgot.
I genuinely didn't.
Yeah, so Mr. Wall finished bottom. You finished 19th.
Out
was
of
22. So you just avoided relegation if it was in league terms.
I'm Sean Dyche.
But to be fair, the winner, and when I say winner, I mean quite comfortably by 136 points, I think it's going to be by the end.
Blimey.
John Commode.
You see, I mean, well done, first of all. Let's put that out there. Good job, John Commode. But, like, genuinely, that man had so much time because he's only just got himself a job over there. Like, that was literally all he had to do was to sit there on his Fantasy Premier League sorting it out. So we've been mugged off a bit there. But now that he's got a 9 till 5 next season, I don't know if he'll do quite that well. Indeed, well done, Mr. Commode. Andrew, I can only assume that you looked at it even less than I did.
Once or twice at the start of the season and done. I just forget. I managed to do the WFC predictions because I'm just reminded every week. I just got to do that. Anything else, I'm just like, yeah.
Dan, where did you end up?
I finished 5th. 5th.
Interesting, not bad.
So my problem came as you get wild cards, which neither of you two used. When I used my wild cards, my team went to crap. I should have just left it. If I'd have left it, I'd have finished probably second. But I do it every year. Tinker, then lose.
Well, as Triple H once said, it's all about the game and how you play it. And that just proves that that's absolute rubbish because I didn't touch it and still managed to do better than 3 other people. So well done.
I'll be forcing you to do it next year too.
I'm sure you will, and I'm positive I'll forget. I'll try next year. I will try to remember, but I doubt I will. But another thing that happened. Oh, hello, what's happened here? Mr. Commode has been charged with 115 breaches of fantasy predictions by one of his AFU presenters. Now,
it's funny you should say that because 2 people in the league that finished in the top 5 have clearly copied one of the FPL Raptor people that do the content every week. And they've just got the same team from about week 20. So I'm calling shenanigans on 2 of them.
You're joking.
I don't like it.
Not having that. But another thing that happened at the beginning of the season was that for some mental reason, Dan and I both thought that we could predict the entire Premier League and how it would end up. So somebody's going to have to keep score. We'll kick off with Dan. We just throw that out there so none of us can see, which is good because it hides our embarrassment. So let's have a look. He said that Man City would win the league, which gets him a point because they did. He put Liverpool second, Arsenal third, got them the wrong way around. Manchester United in the heady heights of 4th. No, that was Villa. Newcastle 5th, Chelsea 6th. You got Chelsea right. They done it for you in the end. Spurs in 7th was not quite right. Brighton way higher. They finished 11th. Villa were not in 9th. It was West Ham. Brentford 10th. New. West Ham 11. You got Bournemouth, which was, yes, Bournemouth did finish 12th. 3 points, Dan. Did a lot better than the last time we checked this. Yeah. Palace 13th. No. Everton, Burnley, Fulham. Everton 14, Burnley, no. Fulham 16, Forest 17. You got that one as well. That's 4. 18, Luton, no. Not Wolves. Sheffield United, no, you got them wrong. And Luton wrong as well. So do you know what? You've not done bad there. You got 4 out of 20.
I did get 2 out of the 3 relegated teams and the top 3 of the Premier League just the wrong way around, though. So it wasn't that bad.
You've done quite well. I don't really want to bring mine up now. Just I wasn't doing too well before. But
I'm sure you had United second, Barry.
Listen, as everyone at AFU knows, I am not scared to make myself look like a complete idiot. I'm quite well at doing it. So it's not a problem. So let's throw it up there. How did I do? Oh, mine's small. Don't know why mine's so small there, but there you go. I did say that Man City would win the league, and I was right. For some reason, I thought United were going to finish second. They let me down big time. I had Arsenal third, Liverpool fourth, not quite. Newcastle fifth. They let me go. I put Chelsea in sixth as well. Go on, Barry. That's a point there. West Ham 7, Spurs 8. No. Brentford 9, Everton 10. No.
Villa
Villa
11.
11, Palace 12. No. Brighton 13, Fulham 4. Oh, Fulham! Done me like a kipper there. Bournemouth 15. Oh, people are letting me down here. Wolves 16. No. Sheffield United 17. No. I had faith in you, Blades. 18, Forest. They just bloody Forest. 19. Oh, I got Burnley 19. There we go. And Luton 20. I went for Luton. Just Sheffield United there mugged me right off. To be honest with you. So I only got 3 right. So, Dan, it just goes to show why I'm sat here in the main host part of it all, and you're the pundit talking about it, because you clearly know what you're talking about, having beaten me 4-3 on the league standings. So well done, sir. Good job.
What do I get?
You can
Not
come
bad.
back next year. You can maintain your co-host duty. I don't know what you're expecting here. It's a privilege to work for AFU. That's what Connor tells me. So you should be delighted. But there you go. Not too bad at all. What do you reckon there, Beanie? He's not just a pretty face, is he, old Danny boy?
Spot on. Knowledge up there, innit? All up there.
Sometimes.
Well, there you go. I think we'll have to do that again next year, because that was quite a good one. But there we go. Simon saying that Sheffield United were never really Premiership material. They played well in the Championship. Yeah, they didn't have a great time at all this year. And looking back to the start of the season, not a bad prediction. It's been a tough season to predict. You are not wrong. Who would you like to see back in the Premier League? Southampton or Leeds? I mean, Southampton. I'd much rather that Leeds were just wiped off the face of the planet. That's generally how it works, isn't it? We hate them after all. Not literally, obviously. Don't get your knickers in a twist. Beanie, Southampton or Leeds?
It's got to be Southampton, isn't it? I do like taking 6 points off Leeds, though. So there is that slight. But yeah, it's got to be Southampton.
I haven't seen taking 6 points off of anybody next season. I don't know if I could, if my heart could take it. Wally, the little robot.
Going to go with Leeds. I'm back in the frame. We always have good games.
Just for the away day?
Well, I've done Southampton, so I haven't done Ellen Road. So it'd be nice to go and see a win at Ellen Road.
Little known fact: Southampton were the first team that I saw Manchester United play. We won 2-1. Nicky Banger scored. My mum told the geezers off in front, so they kept on standing up, and poor old little dwarfy me couldn't see. And then Ryan Giggs scored 2 in a minute. And before you know it, that was Southampton crying. There we go. Dan, for you, who would you bring back? Southampton or Leeds?
I want Southampton to come up, but that's because one of my friends is a Leeds fan and he wants to stay in the Championship, believe it or not. Says he's better football.
Interesting. I think what he means by that is he knows they'll get relegated again. But there we go. Boxer's going Southampton. JJ's gone for the Saints as well. Boxer, you don't want to do Ellen Road. NT agreeing, it's good to give them a hiding. And Simon's top 4 for next season. City, Arsenal, Liverpool, and United. It's a pinch, depending on who we sign, how we play. My list is not in that order. Interesting. Very interesting indeed. Gang, do you know what? I think we have pretty much hit the end of our review before we end up reviewing our season as a whole. Obviously, that will come after the FA Cup game. So, a tiny little rest. We're going to see what we can do, get ourselves into midweek. Midweek should be good fun. Like I say, when we get into our FA Cup preview, which we are very much looking forward to. Obviously, we will then have the FA Cup on the 25th. I'm not convinced there's going to be a show on the 25th. I think it's going to be on the Sunday, the 26th. That's what my mind is telling me. Unless, of course, Dan wants to run one all by himself and see how he gets on, because I'm otherwise engaged.
It depends if we win. If we win, I'll be quite happy to come on and celebrate. If we lose, I might need a day to recover.
To be fair, if we win, I will log on from Mark's house and do it there. I don't care if there's a barbecue going on or anything like that. I'll be straight in there, and I can't guarantee that I will be sober. Right, exactly that. Are we doing streams for the Euros? Do you know what? I hadn't thought about it and considered it, but we might. We'll have a little chat about that backstage and see if that's something that you want at the end of the day. This is all for United, and as it says right up there in the corner, it says be heard, we listen. So if that's something that you'd be interested in, absolutely we can be doing that. So like we say, FA Cup will happen at that weekend, either the Saturday or the Sunday. Keep your eyes peeled for that. And then during the following week, we will have our end of season award show, which will be very similar to the mid-season one that we did. Only it's the end of the season, so not a lot's changed. It's just has our opinions and thoughts changed, is what we'll be going with. NT asking, are we getting any special shows during the summer? You better believe it, Jack. There will always be special shows. That's what we're aiming for.
My quiz book's coming back out.
I wouldn't mind one of Barry's legendary quizzes. I don't hear him sitting there going, I quite like Dan's.
No, we've got to rehash the one we did last time. I can't remember on it. I know Andy was on it. And I know you was on it, Barry. Sure, I was on it. But was it John Commode?
Was it John Commode? I think it was.
Yeah, I feel like we need a part 2. Did Andy win?
I feel like he did, but John Commode should have won because he's meant to be our encyclopedia.
Yeah, I'm sure I thought, oh yeah, this is going to be really, really hard, and it turns out Andrew knows quite a lot. So I'm going to make it even harder this year.
He was throwing a lot of stuff out. Don't make it too hard.
I'm going to go past page 8. I'm going to go all the way to page 20.
Maybe. And so maybe Scout Watch on future manager Southgate. Well, that could be something that we're doing. You just never know, do you? I don't remember Dan's. Maybe I missed it or I was drunk.
Go find it. It was brilliant.
Go find it. It's down as a quiz, and there's some good questions on there, to be fair. And of course, you can always play along. Just because we're not live doesn't mean you can't play. And even better, you get to cheat. So, I didn't know that one. It's up to you. What you do in your own house, up to you, isn't it, really? Maybe Stevie Wonder will be our scout for a new man. Maybe. Oh, no, he does actually, when you remember, mention Andrew rinsing the quiz. It was a bit mad. He was just shouting stuff out, and we were just like, Andrew, shut up. But yeah, he's got quite a good little brain on him there. He really does. And Simon's saying, do you know, I'm most impressed with myself for managing to get through the entire stream without mentioning Simon Says. Because every time I've said Simon Saying, that's gone right into my head.
You did it.
And I got to hear, and I was like,
No, you didn't. You said it earlier. It made me laugh. You said Simon Says, and I laughed. You did. I think it was just an accident at this point, but you definitely did it. About 20 minutes in, you went Simon Says, and I went. It's just there, isn't it?
We were lucky, really. Just think of some of the things he could have asked us to do. You know, like Simon Says, everybody go off stream. I would have all had to just do it because that's the rules. As we all know. Now, this has been a great stream again. Really enjoyed it. Look forward to your next one more. Thank you very much, Simon. He's saying great group grinning here. Good. That's what we aim for. We look to get you all smiling and enjoying yourself at the end of the day, regardless of what it's been like. That'll be a much harder job at the weekend if we don't manage to beat City, but we will give it a good go. Andy, where can people find you and your inane TikTok ramblings?
MUFC Beanie 7 is what the screen says there, so that must be it. Yeah, shits and giggles.
Every week, he's never prepared for that question every single week.
I need to write it down or something.
Some might say that you just didn't think of a username that was easy to remember. There we go. Did we find out what the banging was in the background on the last show?
We did not.
It was you.
They definitely came from my area. but both the kids were asleep, and there was like no bomb-like mess anywhere. So
we listened to it back. We didn't hear a banging. We just sort of heard so I'm assuming it was a spirit of some sort.
I'm good because I don't believe in ghosts, so I'll sleep fine.
He doesn't believe in ghosts,
Or
which might be
dinosaurs.
why you can't hear it. It's like Thestrals in Harry Potter. But yeah, so no, we haven't narrowed it down. We don't know quite what it is that's making those level of noises in Dan's house. But rest assured, he has got both a vicar and a paranormal export, yeah, coming in as well. It's all going a bit wrong. Twilumber, yes, I've got some words for tomorrow. Please get on to WFC tomorrow, where we will dissect the absolute disgrace that was Manchester United.
I have one final question.
96.
Because I'm very eager. When do we find out the results for the WSL predictions?
I don't really care because I never win. It will be within the next 7 days.
That's too big of a window.
I have to put it in too big of a window because I'm not just relying on me. If it was just down to me, the answer would be tonight. It's not just down to me. It's teamwork. And teamwork would require poor old Connor to be sober for a start. And I'm not convinced we're fully at that level. So I would say by Tuesday would hopefully be what we're looking for. But obviously, if you want,
I believe I got every single result right this week.
you may well have done, but I've got to be honest. I have done your points for the previous week. You only got about 5. You were
balls
the week before, so I'm not convinced you're going to win. But there you go. So there we
recount. calling for a recount.
Recount as much as you like, mate. You'll be doing the counting. I've done my bit. Andrew Wall, where can people find you if they wanted to in your wonderful David Bailey-esque photos?
Well, find me on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and on Instagram as well. And you can find some more writings on Stratford Paddock as well.
Can indeed. And if you want to find Dan, just don't. It's not worth it. He's in the same spot. And don't follow me either because I don't care about all that stuff. Feel free if you want to. I talk about all manner of stuff occasionally because, got to be professional, ain't you? So there we are. Listen, it's been brilliant. We've managed to waste 10 minutes just chatting about absolute nothing. And yet there's still people here watching. That's amazing. Unbelievable. You guys in the comments have been absolutely superb. Thank you once again. Thank you for everything you have done over this season. It has been an absolute pleasure and privilege seeing this community grow and build into what it is. And, well, get yourself ready for this because in the words of Emma Hayes, it ain't over. See you next week.